are open for business. And guess who I caught walking down the streets of London, just looking for something to do on a Saturday night? Sherlock Holmes, Kitty.
Looks like he has 9 lives.
He does. He has 9 lives. We love Sherlock for that. So as you can tell, because he's here running around in my kitchen, he is back. Sherlock is back. But again, I think I disclaimed before that we only will be doing we're gonna finish the memoirs of, sorry, he's going crazy. We're gonna finish doing the memoirs of, and then we're gonna get to the return of, but we still got a couple of stories in the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. So we are back. And as you can tell with this title, it is Snitches Get Stitches, because they do, honey. That is just a rule of thumb here. I have more of these things, but they fell off, so we'll just do it later. So anyway,
What's the actual story name?
Well, I'm gonna get to that, Scott. I was gonna hang up my sign. Look at Scott. You see how Scott do? This is why we can't take him everywhere. So I was gonna hang up my open sign, but all of those fell to the floor. We'll do it later. So the case today is actually the resident patient. And we're all here. There's you, there's Scott, who is over here, who may or may not be invited next time back. I know. There's Watson, Sherlock, and of course me. And we're, Scooby-Doo agency type situations going on here. So let's get started with the story. So as you see, Sherlock is back, and him and Watson are, out and about, taking a walk, hanging out, doing what guys in the 1800s do. And they get back to 221 B Baker Street, and there's this guy there. And so, Sherlock, of course, deduces who this guy is because Sherlock's the GOAT. And, he's like, what?
So some guy just shows up at his place and he can just be like, figure out who it is.
Well, he knew he was a doctor. He knew like certain things about him, that the guy had never told. Like the guy's just standing there and he's like, oh my God, you're a doctor. You specialize in exotic diseases and blah, 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 this and that. And his hair is blown back. Hair is blown back, honey. And so, he tells who he is. He's like, I'm Dr. Percy. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this man's last name. Dr. Percy T. And so, Watson is like, oh, I know you. I know who you are. You wrote such and such a book. And Dr. Percy was like, you're making me blush. Yes, you must really know who I am. And Watson's like, I'm a doctor too. So, the doctor starts telling his story. Are you looking up his name?
Uh-huh.
Oh, Lord. So the doctor starts telling the reason, not his story, the reason why. He's giving his reason why. He's giving 13 reasons why. Okay? Why he's there at 221 B Baker Street. So he's like, I'm young, as you can tell. I'm 28, 7. What's the last name, Scott? Scott look like he got the last name.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure the pronunciation. Trevelyan, I think it would be.
Dr. P, Master P, Dr. Master P, Master Percy. So, Dr. Master PT, that's the start of his last name, Dr. Master PT. So, the doctor's like, as you can see, I'm relatively young, I went and got my doctorates or whatever they got back then. And, I came from a good school. I was super smart. I did my due diligence. But he was like, getting out there. The start of it was really hard. I didn't have no money. I didn't come from a super wealthy family. I really didn't have no money. So I was out there trying to figure out like how I was going to start a practice or how am I going to make some money? How am I going to get this money? And so he said one day he was just sitting there trying to figure it out and worrying and all that. And all of a sudden, a man comes up to him and I'm like, "Are you Dr. Master P?" And Dr. P was like, yeah, that's me. He was, and the man showered him with all these accolades. He was like, "Oh man, I heard you the bomb. I heard you know stuff that got to do with doctor stuff. I heard you the best." And so he was like, "Because you are the best, and I've heard so much about you. I also heard you ain't got no practice. I want to be your sponsor." Scott's impressed. He was like, "I want to be your sponsor. I'm gonna what I'm gonna do for you is I'm gonna buy you a practice. I'm gonna furnish the practice. I'm gonna give you pocket money. Like I'm gonna just take like 3/5, 2/3, something." He said, "I don't do math well. As you can tell, I'm a reader, not a mather. I'm going to, I'm gonna take some of the money so I can get my money back for, investing in you. And all I need you to do is be the consultation, like do consultations, do your job, like be a doctor. Also, I'm gonna move into the practice. I'm gonna take the best room, actually 2 of the best rooms. I'm gonna move in this practice and make it my thing. Also, I got some problems. I have some problems with my heart. So I'm gonna be your patient too, and this is how we're gonna get you going." And so Dr. Master P was like, "Yeah." Scott's over here saying no. So Scott, you wouldn't take the money?
No, this doesn't sound good at all.
Why doesn't it sound good?
Well, I mean, there's always going to be some sort of catch, but then he's already got all these things going.
What, the heart disease and stuff?
Yeah, well, he's got his problems, and he's going to take some rooms, and he's going to take all this money. Like, how long is that going to last for? Like,
so you trying to say Mr. Blessington? Oh, his name was Mr. Blessington. You trying to say Mr. Blessington is like a homosexual?
I'm just saying there's more to it than he's just a nice guy and wants to help this guy out.
There's always more to it.
Sounds
Always.
Like Mr. Scammington, not Mr. Blessington.
Well, he trying to be a blessing. So, of course, Dr. Master P was like, "Yes, because I ain't got nothing else going on. I mean, what do I have to lose?" Sir, the answer would be your licensure. But whatever, we just gonna go on about our way. So, everything was all good. They settled into it. And, Mr. Blessington was a man of his word. He took the 2 biggest room. He took like a bedroom and like the sitting room and left the rest for Percy. He put him in a nice area of town. Everything was good. Patients were coming. His practice was growing. Mr. Blessington took only the amount that he said he would, left Percy the rest. Everything was going swimmingly. Now, he did say that Mr. Blessington was kind of eccentric. Okay, he had some weird habits. He had a habit of going out at the same time. He never really left the house. He kind of was to himself, doing his due diligence. He definitely had a heart, issue. So, periodically Percy would have to help my friend out. No big deal. Everything's going well. Until one day, Scott, you hear Scott's being a hater. And you know what they say about haters. Scott, what they say about haters?
You're not doing it right unless you got haters.
Mr. Blessington is doing it right. He is a blessing ton, honey. He blessed with the best. So, then one day, Mr. Blessington is sitting there reading the paper. And then he started kirking out. He's like, "Oh my God. Oh, y'all ain't gonna believe this. It's crazy." And so Mr. Blessington is like, "Let me tell you something, Dr. Master P." Really, his Percy is his name, but I grew up in the 90s and Master P was the thing. Make him say, Scott, do you remember that song? Make him say,
I do,
actually. No. That's what Dr. Master P making them say. Stick out your tongue. No. So anyway, Mr. Blessington is like, "The world is the sky's falling, Chicken Little, things are going awry. It's crazy around here. Things are crazy. And Dr. Master P is like, sir, what is your problem? Usually you cool, calm, collected, you eccentric, but sir, usually you kind of doing your own thing. So what is the problem? He's like, Mr. Blessington is like, there's robberies and stuff. The world going crazy. And Dr. P is like, okay, girl, well, that's fine. And Mr. Blessington's like, I gotta go get me a gun. So he go get him a gun. So, he was a little paranoid. Like before, remember we were talking about Sherlock Holmes in The Final Problem. Sherlock was a little paranoid. He was annoyed. He wasn't paranoid though. He was annoyed. He wasn't paranoid though. Mr. Billington is paranoid, honey. He walking around waving the gun. He don't want to go out no more. He's just doing the most. He's doing the most and getting the least result possible for doing the most. So, after a while, Mr. Blessington kind of started chilling out. It took a couple of days. He started calming down, but he kept that firearm, baby. He kept that firearm, okay? So he started chilling out. Life is good again, kind of, sort of, maybe. We don't know. Percy got, or Dr. Master P got a letter or a request from a patient who was like, oh my God, my daddy ill. He keep having these, episodes. He be having seizures and whatnot. And, it's a rare disease that I heard only you can deal with. And, he was like, can we come like right before you close? Can we come right before you close? I used to do retail and I hated when people did that. Because you're trying to shut stuff down and hear this person come lollygagging on through right before you close, holding you up from getting home. But Dr. Master P was home already, so I guess he didn't care and he needed the money. So he wrote back and was like, yeah, bring your daddy on over here so I can heal him. I'm gonna lay these hands on him and I'm gonna heal him. And so, the daddy and the guy came. Dr. Master P described them as just a really weird couple. The son is super tall and big and he built like a tank. And the daddy's like this small, scrawny thing. Now, mind you, okay, let me give y'all a little trade tip what I do in the background. I read the book and mark it up for what I'm going to read to y'all, but I also listen to an audio book while I go walking through the woods or whatever my exercise is for the day. During the audio book, they made the son sound like Count, like the Dracula, or not the Dracula, but the Count from Sesame Street. Remember, he'd be like, 1, 2. They made him sound like I was cracking up. I was like, oh my God. So anytime I think about the son, it be like my daddy's having 1 seizure, 2 seizure. So, the homie is like, here's my dad. He had a 1 seizure and 2 seizure. He's helping people on Sesame Street count. So, he's like, hey, can you help my daddy? And the doctor's like, well, or Dr. Master P was like, do you want to be in here? And he was like, absolutely not. You crazy? I'm going to take 1 seat. And 2 seat. These kids going to count. And so he was like, no, I'm going to go outside in the waiting area while you treat my daddy. Get it together. And so, Dr. Master P is sitting there with the daddy asking him all these questions. And then all of a sudden, what do you think happened, Scott? What do you guys think happened? What do you think happened, Scott?
Died, huh?
We may or may not. Y'all may not see Scott here no more. I'm just warning you. This is the warning. No, all of a sudden, the daddy becomes That's So Raven. Have you ever seen That's So Raven? My daughter used to watch it. Well, That's So Raven is about this girl. She a psychic. It's Raven Simone. She a psychic. But when her psychic premonitions would come on, she would just be like, So the daddy all of a sudden go catatonic. He like, and Dr. Master P sitting there looking at him like, sir, hey, you supposed to answer that last question. And the daddy can't. He having a psychic vision. And so, the doctor's like, this is the seizure. So he over there checking his pulse. He over there, I don't know, checking his stool. I don't know what he was checking. He was running tests on him while he was having his catatonic seizure fit. And so then the doctor was like, you know what? We don't know nothing about this disease, but I've been thinking. I think I got some stuff to cure it. It may be brandy, because they usually just give everybody brandy in Sherlock Holmes stories. So I don't know. But he just knew he had the cure. So off runs the doctor to go get probably some morphine or brandy or something. Because back in the 1800s, they were doing a lot of things that we can't do today. We don't do that today. We don't do what they did in the 1800s today. So he leaves and goes to get something. And he comes back, and guess what, Scott?
Back to normal.
No, he gone. So the doctor comes back, and his patient is gone, and he's like, maybe he had a psych. Maybe he ain't just psychic. Maybe he's not just That's So Raven. Maybe he can teleport himself. Maybe he's Scotty. Maybe I don't know. So he goes around and he looks. Then he goes looking for the count. I'm just gonna call that man the count, because I'm telling you, it was like, my daddy's sick. Ha ha ha. He has one illness. I was like, this is too much. Did y'all had a dude from Sesame Street come read this book? He doing audibles now. So anyway, he goes into the waiting room, and the count is gone too. I guess he didn't counted up all them chairs, and he needed to get to the Sesame Street set. So, they're both gone. And he's like, well, that's odd. Y'all done wrote a letter, scheduled an appointment via letter, and did all this foolishness. Your daddy had a That's So Raven teleportation, and I was trying to cure him. Probably not. And y'all done up and left. So whatever. So he just assumed they would never come back again. But guess what, Scott?
We came back
the next day. Now, mind you, I forgot this part. Mind you, Mr. Blessington then went out, like the time they came, Mr. Blessington then went out on outside and did his little walkie walk and came back in. As Dr. Master P is looking around like, where did these people go? So, he's like, I'm looking for these people. Mr. Blessing, did you see anybody? He's like, no, I ain't see nobody. Do I need to go get my firearm? No, he didn't say that, but he should have. So anyway, so the next day comes, and boop, guess who pop up? Daddy and son, the count, and That's So Raven. So they show back up. And they like, oh, we so sorry that happened yesterday. And it was so rude of us to just walk on out this door. But we back, and we better than ever. And so, they were like, could you just finish up what you were doing yesterday? And he's like, cool, yeah. Now, mind you, it's about the same time that they came the day before. So Mr. Blessington is out on his walk. These two are there. The count is back counting chairs or couch cushions. Who knows what he was back there counting. And the daddy is sitting there answering questions. He did not go That's So Raven again. Okay. They got up, they left. No big deal. Everybody's having a good time. Except for all of a sudden, here come paranoid Pat, Mr. Blessington. He like, who been in my room? Who been in my room? Sounded like my mama. Who been in my room? Did your parents have a problem with you going in their room when you were growing up? Because my mom was not having it. My daddy, I don't think he cared. But my mom was like, why y'all been in my room? What y'all been touching? I keep chips and snacks in my room. Did y'all eat them? She had candy and stuff. She was just hiding candy from us. So anyway, so he was like, who been in my room? Oh my God. And Dr. Master B like, sir, do I need to give you some brandy and some morphine to calm you down? Do you have brain fever? Because everybody does in the Sherlock Holmes universe, kind of. And he's like, Sir, nobody was in your room. The only two people who was here was the count and That's So Raven, his daddy, That's So Raven, and That's So Raven was in my chair, maybe having a flashback, and the count was sitting out in the raid room. So Mr. Blessington was like, "Come on over here and look in my room and look at these footsteps. Who put these footsteps? Who did these track marks on my floor?" And there was some big old footprints, some big old, like the tall, like the counts, all over his floor. And so the homie started crying. Mr. Blessington just bust out into hysterical snot bubble tears, honey. He got snot running here. He got tears running here. He is having a complete meltdown. He looks kind of like that, baby. He over there looking like that. He probably is a ugly crier. He strikes me as an ugly crier. I'm not gonna read what Watson said about him, because Watson did not paint him favorably. He light drag. It was a light drag from Watson. Usually it's Sherlock dragging. This time it was Watson dragging, saying he was fat. Basically, 1800 British way of saying somebody fat. So anyway, he's busting out in tears and hysterics. Probably got some brain fever, undiagnosed, untreated. And so he threw all these snot bubble, ugly crying tears. So imagine, like, if I'm just sitting there crying, like, and I'm like, go get Sherlock. Go find Sherlock. He can help us. And so, Dr. Master P went to Sherlock, like, can you please get this crazy man? Help me with this crazy man. Somebody help me with him. He got some problems. He probably needs to, get a lobotomy. I don't know if they had lobotomies at that point. He probably needs a lobotomy. And yeah, could you come help him? Because he seems to like be going crazy because he found some footprints in his room. And he said crime is running rampant. And it made him get a firearm. So Sherlock is like, this story sounds crazy. And it don't sound like he's telling the truth. So of course I'm going to go. Because it's Sherlock. So, him and Watson and Dr. Master P, catch a four-wheeler, horse and carriage on down to, the house. And it was as Dr. Master P said. So they go in there with Mr. Blessington. And they're like, hey, sir. So Sherlock's like, hey, sir, could you just tell me, like, what did you need? What's up? What's going on? What it do? And so here come Mr. Blessington talking about some, I'm just a poor guy, I ain't got much money. And, when I did get some money from doing some unmentionable things that I'm not going to tell you about, the only investment that I ever put it in was in Dr. Master P because he's the GOAT of doctors. And, I don't trust banks. I never trust banks. They're crooks. They're thieves. So everything I own is in this black box here. So you can see why I wouldn't want nobody tiptoeing on through my room, especially not the count from Sesame Street, counting all my money, talking about $1. I feel like that's where my mind would have went. Like, sir, you're not going to be in here counting my money because you want to teach the children of Sesame Street to count. No. So he was like, you can understand why I'm so emotionally wrecked by somebody being in my room. And let me tell you what Sherlock did. Scott, what do you think Sherlock did? What do you think Sherlock did?
I don't know. Probably to give him some sort of sly comment or something. I don't know.
No, Sherlock basically went on and was like, sir, let me tell you something. You done wasted me and Watson's time bringing us out here, and you ain't even telling the truth. We leaving. We ain't got time for your foolishness. You full of crap.
Wow.
And we out. Peace. I don't know if they had a peace sign, but he could have been the first. Peace. We done. We out. Mic drop. Huh?
Two.
To what?
Two. Wasn't there a peace sign? I think it's flash two.
He ain't coming back, y'all. Scott ain't coming back. He's not allowed back here. We're gonna put him on, we're gonna put some sanctions on him. Some tariffs, if you will. So that's the new buzzword. So they left. Watson and Sherlock left. They was like, we gotta go. Watson is over there, hair blown back. He don't know what just happened. He was like, I've never seen Holmes do that before, but okay, if the homie say it's time to go, it's time to go. Because you know, Watson is like ride or die type. He's that kind of guy. So, you know, they leave. So they get pretty far. And so finally, Watson's like, what was all that about? And Sherlock was like, I'm not about to sit here when this man is clearly not telling me the truth, wasting my time, wasting your time. You know, we could have been having a good time. So we're going to go back home. And we'll probably get a note from them tomorrow. And when he ready to run me the truth, he gonna run me the truth. So they get back home and, you know, they chill for the night. And the next day, they said before 7:30, there was a message. Do you know what it said?
I'm ready to tell you the truth.
No, it was Dr. Master P talking about, oh, it's urgent. Come back here, please. Oh my God, help me, please. And so they hurried up and got back to where these two stayed. And do you know what was there?
I don't know.
It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Mr. Blessington didn't off himself, child. He didn't off himself. He didn't took it to his next conclusion, honey. And he went on and tied a rope around his throat and jumped off the edge, honey. He had hung himself. And so Dr. Percy's like, Scotland Yard is here and they wanted me to call you because you was here yesterday. And, you know, what do you think this is about? And Holmes was like, let me go put a couple of things out there. Let me go talk to a couple of people. Can I take this picture of Mr. Blessington real quick? Give me a few hours and I'll be back. I suspect I know exactly what time it is here. And so, you know, he left for a few hours. He comes back and he was like, I got something for you. What do you think it was, Scott? What do y'all think it is?
The answers that everybody's looking for.
Scott, that's not helpful. That's not Sherlock of you.
No.
How long have you been here at this detective agency and you don't know how to look at the spinate, the attention to detail clues? I'm gonna tell y'all because I read the story. So what was going on was this. Mr. Blessington's name wasn't Mr. Blessington.
Oh.
And the Count and That's So Raven, his daddy, That's So Raven, that wasn't who they were either. So what happened was Mr. Blessington was one of a what's this? Quadrant. I forget what a 5 is. A duo, whatever a 5-piece band is. He was a quartet. Quintet. A tet of sorts. So he was one of 5 bank robbers who robbed some banks. They got caught. Okay. They got caught. Clearly not good bank robbers if you're getting caught. So they got caught robbing banks. And I don't know. Mr. Blessington decided, I'm going to try to get this lesser charge. Okay. I'm going to try to get a lesser charge. I'm snitching on everybody. I'm saving my own skin, baby. I ain't got time. I look too good for prison. He said, I look too good for prison. I'm not doing it. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. I'm telling on everybody here except for myself because I'm innocent. And so Mr. Blessington did not get that much time, honey. And he was like, what do they call it? He was in witness protection. Like they had him, they were protecting him. And so he dimed out the other 4 people. Okay, he went on snitching. And the other 4 got long, lengthy prison sentences. And Mr. Blessington was out. Or he served like a little amount of time. When he got out, and it don't say this, I just kind of put this in the story. So if y'all go reading it, don't hold me to it. I think he still had some of that bank money. And so he went on and took that bank money. And you know what they say, you got to launder the money. You got to launder that money. How did he launder it? He went on and got Dr. Master P a practice and laid low in them rooms. He laundered the money good. He didn't get no car wash. He didn't get no laundromat. He got a doctor, a practice, if you will. And so, he laundered his money and he laid low. It got shocking to him, and he got very paranoid when he saw that his fellow bank robber members were released early. Remember when I said he saw that paper, he was like, the violence getting crazy. I gotta get firearms and become Yosemite Sam. Like, so, he got paranoid because he saw they got out, and he was like, oh my God. But I guess they didn't find him right away. So he got back comfortable. He's like, oh, we good. But then he saw them big old man shoe prints in that room that day. And that's why he broke down crying. He was like, oh, baby, this is the end. My days are no longer long, honey. So when we saw the count and his daddy, that's so Raven, they were coming to scope it out and see where this man's room was, to see how the layout was, because they knew they were coming back to get him. So Scotland Yard was like, okay, there was no forced entry or anything. How did he do it? How do you think they got in, Scott, without anybody knowing?
I don't know.
There was a little page boy. So the little page boy was new. They had, like, Dr. Master P and Mr. Blessington. I don't know why I want to call him Billington. Mr. Blessington hired a new little page boy. That he was being hired, kind of like that page boy that set up Holmes that one time, who was like, oh, here's a letter. Yeah, they set this man up. So at that night, when they scoped out everything, knew where his room was, knew it was him because they saw that picture sitting up on his mantle, they was like, okay, cool. So they had the page boy open the door and let them in. They tiptoed on in there. They bought a contraption to go ahead and put that around his throat and go on and make it look like he ended himself. Now, as with all Sherlock stories, they could not find a page boy because they wanted to ask him some questions and hold him accountable for, the M word. They were looking for the gang, but they couldn't find them. But they think that a ship capsized somewhere and they were on it or something. So that ended that mystery. Okay. Scott, what did you think about the story? Viewers, what did you think about the story? What did you guys think?
Yeah, well, I knew that Mr. Blessington had something up going on.
He wasn't a bad guy. He was just a bank robber.
That sounds like a bad guy to me.
The bank's stealing from people too. So anyway, allegedly. So what was your lessons learned, Scott? Viewers out there, what was your lessons learned from this story? Every story has a lesson learned.
The past is going to catch up to you.
Always. The skeletons come out of the closet and chase you all around the room, honey. They chased that man all the way around the room with a noose. I guess snitches get stitches. Like, don't be out here telling, just take your L with the rest of them, because this man, they gave him hood justice. So don't be robbing banks. Okay, that's not good. B, don't be snitching. But you won't have to snitch if you're not doing nothing bad. You only got to snitch if you're doing bad stuff. So don't do nothing bad. That's my lessons learned. I won't be robbing banks anytime soon. I'll just sit on YouTube. Okay, so in the end, now we didn't added a new little category because I'm a fat girl living in a fat world. We have a taste test section. I got some chips. They're Lay's. I don't even know. I think it's cucumber flavored chips. We're gonna try them. They look interesting. I don't know what cucumber tastes like. Scott, what do you think cucumber tastes like?
Cool, refreshing.
Well, we're gonna try them on some chips. Let's see here. It tastes like cucumber on chips, but
yeah.
I don't know if I would do it. Literally, it's like a cucumber on a chip. It's so interesting. It's really interesting. Would you eat it again?
I'm gonna go out of my way to eat it, but I mean, I think you can.
You would finish the can. Yeah, it's an interesting, weird, cute. Like it literally tastes like cucumbers. So y'all go check out these chips. It was good. Y'all check out Sherlock Holmes. Y'all check out some other lives that I've been on, all that fun stuff. Check out some of my shorts, and we will be back. I think I'm going to do Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I think I want to take a stab at that one time. And of course, always Sherlock Holmes, Cam Jensen, Christopher Pike, like all my childhood faves. So with that, guys, I bid you guys adieu. From wherever we are to wherever you are, peace and love and happiness to you and yours. And with that, we are closed, unfortunately. Bye, y'all.